My mom owns my business. She's 57. She has never used Shopify. She cannot tell you what a content strategy is. She probably does not care to know either. But she packs every order we get at 6 in the morning, before she has even made breakfast. And I set it up that way on purpose. Not because it was convenient, not because I needed a name on paper, because I wanted to. Work along if you have something. I have been wanting to talk about this for a while. Welcome to episode 3 of my Paint and Gos'sip series, where I yap about something personal while practicing a painting. Today we are making mushrooms. This started as a tutorial from a Procreate course I was taking on Coursera. At some point, I liked it so much that I started trying the same painting in different media. One of those was watercolor pencils, and that is what I am working with today. And while I paint, I want to talk about something that is kind of the emotional foundation of the happy fault, formerly the Shy Kitsu Cafe. Specifically, I want to talk about why my mom owns this business. So, I have this memory from when I was 2. And I know memories from that age are strange. Sometimes you don't know if you remember the actual event or if you remember the feeling of the event because people talked about it later. But this one feels very real to me. My mom was taking exams, competitive ones, a bunch of them, I think. My dad and I would go to her, and while she was inside taking the exam, he and I would wait outside. Somehow in my mind, it became this little picnic. Just dad and me waiting for mom. I can still picture the place in fragments. Tall trees, neatly cut grass, huge grey buildings. That very serious institutional feeling. And then my mom, in a sari, walking towards us after she was done. I don't know the full story. I don't know exactly what exams they were, what she was preparing for, how far she got, what she wanted, what she imagined her life would look like if things had gone differently. And honestly, I have not had the courage to ask, because I think somewhere I already know the shape of the answer. It was around the time when I was very small, when I needed a lot of attention, when family life must have been demanding in that way that no one records, no one photographs, but someone is always caring. And then, at some point, she just stopped. She chose us. And I know that sounds beautiful. It is beautiful. I'm deeply grateful for it. But there is another feeling that sits next to the gratitude. It is this quiet ache of wondering what she was trying to become. What version of herself was she walking towards before she turned around and gave all of herself to us? I have carried this regret for a long time, and I know it sounds strange because it is not something I did. I was 2. I had no control over any of it. It is not logical guilt. It is daughter guilt. And if you are an Indian daughter, or honestly a daughter from any family where mothers quietly gave up parts of themselves, you might know exactly what I mean. It is the kind of guilt that does not come from blame. It comes from noticing too late. My mom is an incredible mother. I need to say that clearly. She is strong, practical, stubborn, and very much her own person. But I also grew up watching someone with so much capability pour almost all of it into other people, into us, into the house, into making sure everyone had eaten, everyone had clean clothes, everyone got where they needed to go, and everyone else's life kept moving. And the thing about homemaking is that people say it is important, but they don't always treat it like it is skilled. They don't always treat it like leadership. They don't always treat it like management, logistics, emotional intelligence, budgeting, taste, crisis control, hospitality, discipline, memory, and planning. But that is what it is. My mom has run a household for decades. She has managed people, moods, food, guests, relatives, emergencies, illness, festivals, travel, school years, adult children, everything. She has always been capable. I think I just wanted her to have something where that capability had her name on it. And so when I started making earrings, it began in a very small way. I was not thinking, let me start a brand. I was thinking, this is fun. And then I made more. And then my sister kept telling me, you should sell these. And at first I was like, no, absolutely not. Because selling something you made with your hands is very vulnerable. It is one thing to make a pair of earrings and say, look, isn't this cute? It is another thing to say, I made this, I priced it, I photographed it, I wrote a description, and now I am asking someone to choose it. That is a very different kind of fear. But slowly, the idea started becoming real. And when I thought about what this could be, I already knew I did not want it to be only mine. I wanted it to be hers. I called her and explained what I was thinking. And I'm sure I made it sound much more complicated than it needed to be. I was probably saying things like Shopify, inventory, listings, product photos, payment, shipping, packaging, content, Instagram, and she probably understood maybe half of it. But she said yes. She said yes in that mom way where they do not fully know what they are agreeing to, but they know you care about it, so they agree first and figure out the rest later. And I remember thinking, okay, her name is on it, she's the owner, the person who stopped what she was working toward so we would never feel neglected now gets to have something that is hers. And I know this is not a dramatic empire. We are not talking about some huge business. This is a tiny handmade shop. It is earrings in packages and handwritten cards and a few orders and a lot of learning. But honestly, that makes it more meaningful to me because it is small enough for her to touch every part of it. It is small enough that an order is not just an order. It is a morning task. It is her handwriting. It is her choice of extra gift. It is her calling me and asking, this one, right? So, what does she actually do? When we get an order, I tell her which earrings need to be packed, and from there, everything of it becomes her. How to pack it, what to add, what small extra thing to include, whether the card sounds right, whether the package feels complete. Because that is the point. I do not want her to just execute my instructions. I want her to have ownership. I want her to make decisions. I want her to feel like her judgment matters. Because it does. She has never run a business before. She has been a homemaker her whole life. And now she is learning packaging, orders, customer expectations, small details, timing, all of it. She does not use the language of business, but she understands care. She understands presentation. She understands when a package needs one more small thing. And honestly, sometimes that is more valuable than all the business words. I watch her from here and I keep thinking that thing that she put down all those years ago, it is still there. It did not disappear. It just went underground. It became part of how she raised us. It became part of how she kept a home running. And now, in this tiny way, it gets to come back up. There is another piece of this too. For a long time, I think I was building with the sense of urgency that I did not fully understand. I kept thinking that I need to make this work. I need to figure out the products, to improve the photos, better content, better packaging. I need to post. I need to make the website better. And of course, all of that matters. But underneath all of that was something much softer. I want to build a place where my mom's efforts could be visible, where her care could have a name. And maybe that is why losing momentum sometimes hits me so hard. Because it does not feel like I am just failing at content. It feels like I am failing at giving this thing to her. And I know that is a lot of pressure to put on a small handmade brand. I know. But I also think many of us build things because we are trying to repair something quietly. Not in a perfect way, not in a way that undoes the past, but in a way that says, I saw it. I saw what you gave up. I saw what you could have been. And I still think there is time for something to be yours. If you're watching this and you are an Indian daughter, I think you probably know what I'm talking about. Our moms gave things up. Most of them do not even bring it up. You find out sideways. You discover that your mother used to paint or sing or study or wanted a job or wanted to travel or was good at something no one made room for. And then when you ask, they laugh it off. They say that was long ago. What is the point now? You people do well, that is enough for me. And that sentence breaks my heart a little. Because I understand the love in it. But I also want to say no, that cannot be all. You are still here. Your life is still yours too. I do not know if my mom sees this business the way I see it. She might just see it as something I started and something she helps with. She might not attach this much meaning to it. She's practical like that. She might watch this and say, why are you making such a big thing out of it? And maybe she's right. But I cannot help it. To me, every order she packs feels like a small correction. A small place where her hands are not only serving the family, they are building something. They are sending something into the world. They are part of a story with her name on it. And that is also why the brand has been changing. The Shy Kitsu Cafe was where I started. It was cozy, shy, sweet, handmade, a little awkward in the way beginnings are. And I still love that version of it. But I think I have been slowly walking towards something bigger. Not bigger as in more successful, bigger as in more honest. Something that can hold more of this story. That is where Happy Fault comes in. The idea that something can begin as a mistake, a detour, a delay, a life that did not go according to the plan, and still become something beautiful. That feels true to my work. It feels true to my mom. It feels true to this whole little business. And maybe that is why I like painting mushrooms for this episode. Mushrooms are such strange little things. They grow in hidden places, they show up after rain. They are connected to so much more underneath the surface than you can actually see. And that feels right for this story. Because what people see is a small handmade business. But underneath it is all of this. A memory of my mom walking out of an exam building in a sari, a daughter who still wonders what her mother was trying to become, a tiny shop in her name, and this hope that maybe something can still bloom later than expected. So yes, my mom owns my business. She's learning as she goes, and I'm learning to let this be hers, not just mine. If your mom gave something up, or if there is a talent in your family that never got the space it deserved, tell me about it in the comments. I would really love to know.
Yeah.